we are going to create a story map from our story we've read last week. Let us do our do now task. Our do now task today is to write down all the conjunctions you can see in this paragraph. Conjunctions are like connectives that join two sentences together. I'll read the paragraph. I'm a Sizomosaurus, but you can call me Sizo, said the enormous dinosaur in a tiny voice. I've come to live here. Well, Sizo, could you please tiptoe? Asked Brenda. Sizo agreed to try his best to tiptoe quietly. However, his feet were so large and heavy that the noise woke up George, the old Triceratops. George moaned because the noise woke him from his sleep. Both dinosaurs were unsure about Sizo living with them. There are some conjunctions in this paragraph. Pause the video to figure out which ones they are. Here is our knowledge organizer. Don't forget there is key vocabulary that we have been using this topic, as well as sticky knowledge that all of you must remember by the end of this topic. For example, you would know that a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And there is usually a problem that needs to be solved in a story. Can you remember the problem in Sizo the Earthshaker? When we are using Shobi, it is important to have perfect presentation. That means using the tools that we have here, and you are all excellent at doing that now. So looking at our lesson today, we are going to be doing actions and drawing aspects of our story map. When we're doing our actions, it's important to identify the punctuation we'll be using. We can use Kung Fu punctuation. Think about the punctuation that we use when we're writing. I wonder what examples you can think of. When rehearsing our writing verbally, we can show our punctuation using our body. You've done this before. Capital letter, full stop, comma, and a question mark. I wonder what action you would use for speech marks. Send me a video of you practicing your Kung Fu punctuation section of the story together. You can do the actions whilst I read. One day in a faraway land, the earth shuddered and the trees shook. What is that? Wondered Brenda, the wisest dinosaur in the land. Suddenly, through the trees appeared the biggest dinosaur she'd ever seen. Actions help us to remember the story. We can use Kung Fu punctuation to help us. What other action could you use for these sentences? Send me a video of you making actions for this page. Have a look at how I've drawn my story map for each line. One day in a faraway land, the earth shuddered and the trees shook. See here I wrote the number 1 and a sun for one day. I drew the earth and the trees moving. Here are pictures for the next 3 lines in the story. For you to make sure that your story map is successful, you have to put the correct punctuation to remind you. I always underline the first picture because that reminds me that that's a capital letter. I include a comma if there was a comma in the story, And most importantly, I have to have a full stop at the end of each sentence. I use the line to show that it's going to the next paragraph. Here's a top tip. Think of a simple picture to represent the characters and keep it the same all the way through the story. Like I have. I have done Brenda with glasses because she's the wisest dinosaur of them all. Now it's your turn to draw your story map. Try drawing the story maps for these 2 sentences of the story. You can see here I've done it. One day, in a faraway land, the earth shuddered and the trees shook. I've started with my one day. Pause the video and you can do the rest. Have a look here at what I've done before. The jigsaw piece is for a conjunction. Why do you think it's such a good picture to use for a conjunction? A jigsaw piece. You're right, it links 2 sentences together. It joins 2 sentences together. Now, is this a successful story map? Does it help us retell the story? How could we improve this story map? Have a think. It's time for you to create some actions for the next section of the story. I am a Sizomosaurus, but you can call me Sizo, said the enormous dinosaur with a tiny voice. Why don't you send me a video of your recording with your actions? Don't forget to use the Kung Fu punctuation to help us when writing our sentences. I am going to leave you now to continue doing this story map, and remember to leave a line between each picture. Looking forward to seeing your story maps. Enjoy!